Okay, so anything else on your mind? I think you want audience to know. I should know. It's Vitaly
Yeah,
time.
I think, the other thing I would want to see is like experimentation more on the culture side, right?
Yes.
And, I think culture is something that's really important, right? And
The One Commandment stuff I was writing about, like the keto kosher and stuff like that. Offline in particular.
exactly, the whole like thing that you guys are doing in terms of like having explicitly offline spaces, like I think that's great, right? I think there's a valuable role that culture plays in just like creating and like creating local consensus and like standardizing answers on like just big important questions of how to live life, and I think that needs to be like really updated for the 21st century.
I think so. In particular, yeah. So on the offline thing, so this is something you and I have talked about, maybe worth it, right? So with cars, we are advancing cars still with self-driving cars, electric cars, even flying cars. We can also subtract cars and build totally walkable spaces, right? And so we can advance tech with AI and crypto and all this stuff. We can also subtract tech, and this is what we're doing at Network School, as we were talking about, where totally offline offices, pencil and paper, install phone lockers in like half the buildings so that you have to lock your phone when you walk into the building and you're just present and you're offline and so on and so forth. And just start to have offline spaces as walkable spaces where it's like almost like not getting hit by a car as you're walking along. You don't get hit by a push notification in an offline space,
Yeah, I
It
mean,
doesn't
as
knock you off
someone
course.
who has who almost feels PTSD from like just peacefully living my life and then randomly having minute-long clips of me doing things pop up on Xiaohongshu, like yes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's funny. I realize that some people don't turn on Do Not Disturb all the time on their computer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, they must get barraged with notifications all day. I couldn't imagine even thinking like that, right?
Yeah.
And so the way these things are set up by the defaults, we have to change the defaults on this stuff and make it more friendly.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, I'm just excited to see, like where this movement goes and just like the first, 10 of these things turn into something that I would feel really excited, not just to visit, but to live in.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much, Vitaly.
Thank you too, Balaji.
Thanks.
Thank you both. This same conversation was going on backstage while they were getting ready to come on stage. So endlessly sources of learning and lots to learn and think about from Balaji and Vitalik. So with that in mind, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of token distributions and how these sorts of new structures of ownership and new structures of engagement and new forms really can play a role in the network state. And to do that, I'd like to welcome to the stage Haseeb, a managing partner at Dragonfly. Welcome, Haseeb.
Hello, everybody. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about how to distribute a token. This is one of the things that in the crypto industry we've learned through experience, what works and what does not work, and how you distribute ownership of something new to a lot of people. So I'm a crypto VC at a fund called Dragonfly, and I've seen how all of this is played out firsthand, so let's walk through it. All of this began with Satoshi Nakamoto and the creation of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was distributed through proof of work. The idea of proof of work was that everybody has their own computer, and if everyone has their own computer, their computer can mine and get ownership in Bitcoin. That's the idea. Now, it turned out that he was a little bit naive about how all this would play out over time, because it turns out dedicated compute, specialized compute, is actually better at mining Bitcoin than your computer is. Today, if you try to mine Bitcoin with your own computer, you're not going to mine a single Bitcoin in your entire life. It's just way too difficult to do with a normal CPU, and so proof of work turned out to be rewarding specialization. It rewards professionalized miners who have special equipment, special data centers, which is really not what the original spirit of Bitcoin was supposed to be. So that moved a lot of people gradually away from proof of work toward what became known as proof of stake. Proof of stake is this idea that was really championed by Vitalik, who was just on stage, and Ethereum. The idea of proof of stake is, okay, proof of work didn't quite go where we wanted, it has these environmental externalities, but what if we imagined that everybody kind of had like a virtual computer, but a virtual computer costs money? So what if we just say, okay, you have money, And everyone has some amount of money, and using that money, you can help secure the network. And if you have some money and you vote, you get some more money. That's kind of a very garbled version of how proof of stake fundamentally works. But everybody who has stake can ultimately vote to secure the network and behave accordingly. If you behave badly, we take away your money. So that's proof of stake, and that's how Ethereum, basically, Ethereum and networks after it, eventually got distributed. And that requires you, if you're doing proof of stake, you have to answer a fundamental question that you didn't have to answer in proof of work, which is how do you originally distribute the tokens that end up people use to secure the network? So the first answer to this was ICOs. So Ethereum was one of the very first ICOs. And of course, if you bought Ethereum in the initial ICO, you were up $1 kajillion, I don't know, whatever it is, some massive percent. And of course, there was a big boom of ICOs that took place in 2017. But ICOs eventually fell out of favor because of the fact that there was a lot of regulatory surface area, a lot of scams, a lot of people got defrauded. And so people moved away from ICOs. And they decided that instead of just saying who spends the most money gets the initial tokens and gets the ownership of this asset, instead we moved to what are called airdrops. And airdrops, kind of imagine them like helicopter money. So you use my asset, you're part of my network, you're part of my community. I'm gonna just give you tokens for free because you used my thing early, you supported me in the early days. And so the rise of these airdrop tokens led to, the first generation of people were like, wow, that's so great, I got free tokens. Now I'm a part owner of this network. Well, after that very first generation, Uniswap was the most famous, that did this massive airdrop that distributed the initial supply of tokens. You got the rise of what's called airdrop farming. And airdrop farming are people who realize, like, hey, if I use this thing early, I might get their tokens when they do an airdrop, so I should just use everything early. I should just use a kajillion things early. And in fact, I should maybe make up fake people that also use their thing so they can get tokens. And so this has now become this almost like professionalized thing where you have these, I don't want to call them scammers, but people who are taking advantage of the rules and using that to get access to a bunch of different communities, a bunch of different products when they launch their own tokens. So you can see there's all these farming guides that people use all over the world to try to get access to all these token distributions. So farming itself makes it a lot harder to do these. We give some tokens to everyone in our community because there's people who can take advantage of it. So that moved us away from these vanilla airdrops to what are now called points. So points are this mechanism where, okay, instead of saying, I'm going to give you tokens in exchange for using my product, I'm going to give you points, and someday those points will convert to an airdrop, but I retain the right to decide how those points are allocated. And if you start doing things that look fishy to me, or that I don't like, or that I don't want, I'm going to change the way that future points get earned. So maybe in the beginning, everyone who uses my product gets some points, but later I realized, hey, actually it's not so good for people to get points for just using my product, but people use it for 10 seconds and throw it away. So instead I'll say, I'm gonna reward people now with points who are using my product every day, or who are using these features, or who are depositing money, or whatever. So points give you the flexibility to say, I'm gonna reward this, not that, and I adapt over time, seeing what people are doing and what's actually valuable to my product. And so that's most of where we ended up today in crypto, but there's a lot of talk now about the future of distributions, of maybe even looking at not just how you're using my application, but how you use previous applications, right? Because at the end of the day, what I really want to know is, are you a good user? And a good user was probably a good user in the past too. You didn't just suddenly become an asshole when you started using my product. If you're an asshole, you're probably an asshole to many people before. Something almost like credit scores, I think you can see starting to develop within the crypto world. Lastly, I want to just leave you with this quote, is that we're seeing a lot of experimentation. There was a great quote by Louis Brandeis, the Supreme Court Justice, who said, a single courageous state may, if its citizens choose, serve as a laboratory and try novel social and economic experiments without risk to the rest of the country. This is known as the laboratories of democracy. Every state, in the same way in crypto, every crypto project has the ability to experiment with different ways of distributing tokens and ownership, and ultimately seeding what will ultimately become the state corresponding to that project. That's all from me. Thank you, everybody. See you all.
Thank you, Haseeb. All right, next, please join me in welcoming to the stage Veronica, the CEO of TON Strategy Company. Welcome, Veronica.
Hello, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Veronica, and I'm the CEO of TON Strategy Company. 8 weeks ago, we launched the first digital asset treasury company that is focused on investing in TON, the native token of the Open Network, which as of earlier this year has an exclusive partnership with Telegram to power their mini-app ecosystem. I'm sure Telegram, to this audience, doesn't really need an introduction. but we may need a reminder of how many users Telegram has. Currently, over 1 billion people use Telegram on a monthly basis. That number is projected to grow to 1.5 billion in just under 3 years. About 140 million of those have tried Ton, either through enabling the wallet, which is native within Telegram, activating it, and using it to send crypto as easily as it would be to send a text, or maybe purchasing something in one of the mini apps. Within a few years, that number is projected to grow to 500 million. If every single user today within Telegram buys an iPhone, that's $1 trillion economy. The backbone of this economy is powered by Telegram mini apps, which were launched just under 3 years ago. There's also Telegram native assets, such as stickers and NFTs around usernames and phone numbers, and of course, the wallet within Telegram. The ecosystem is vast, and what's incredible about Telegram is that it's not the first super app, but it's the first global, truly global super app. And we have developers and creators participating from all corners of the globe to contribute into this exciting ecosystem. But what can you do within Telegram with Ton? Well, you can live your entire financial life in Telegram. Telegram Wallet gives you access to stable coins, which you can save, earn, and remit with without leaving your favorite messenger. You can live your entire social life. You can own your social identity within Telegram. You can own your username for the first time as an actual physical physical and digital in the terms of this conference, digital asset as an NFT. You can own a phone number, and you can participate in the creator